We were that first crew that was going to get a chance to fly this vehicle and test this vehicle that was going to take human beings to the moon. We were very, very aware of the time pressure, and everything has to go right if we're for sure going to meet Kennedy's goal of getting to the moon in that decade and back. Apollo 9 was an engineering mission from beginning to end. We tested every possible thing that could be tested. The mission was completely dedicated to testing the systems, the engines, and the guidance and navigation, all kinds of things that we could do in Earth orbit.
So when we first got into orbit, we had a lot of stuff to do. And so we needed to make sure that we had all the data we could get. The lunar module had to land on the moon. I mean, that's what it was designed for. And then it had to get back up to the command module so there was a ride home.
How does that sports car handle, Jim?
It's a drought.
Pretty nice.
Cattle were dying, people were dying in the desert.
Very difficult.
The shaman said, build the ditches, dig the ditches for the rain. And they said, there is no rain. Dig the ditches and the rain will come. Now you non-believers may say, oh, that's nonsense. Well, believe what you want. That's the rational mind. I don't think the rational mind is working too well at the moment. It's the irrational mind, the subconscious.
But tonight isn't just about the people in front of the camera. In this room are some of the most important TV and film executives in the world, people from every background, but they all have one thing in common. They're all terrified of Ronan Farrow. He's coming for you. He's coming for you. Look, talking of all you perverts, it was a big year. It was a big year for paedophile movies. Surviving R. Kelly, Leaving Neverland, Two Popes. Shut up. Shut up. I don't care. I don't care. Many talented people of colour were snubbed in major categories. Unfortunately, there's nothing we can do about that. The Hollywood
was going to get a chance to fly this vehicle and test this vehicle that was going to take human beings to the moon. We were very, very aware of the time pressure, and everything has to go right if we're for sure going to meet Kennedy's goal of getting to the moon in that decade and back. Apollo 9 was an engineering mission from beginning to end. We tested every possible thing that could be tested. The mission was completely dedicated to testing the systems, the engines, and the guidance and navigation, all kinds of things that we could do in Earth orbit.
So when we first got into orbit, we had a lot of stuff to do. And so we needed to make sure that we had all the data we could get. The lunar module had to land on the moon. I mean, that's what it was designed for. And then it had to get back up to the command module so there was a ride home.
How does that sports car handle, Jim? Pretty nice.
It's really very difficult to get the coordinate system in your head. Normally we docked looking out this way, and for the docking with the lunar module, you had to look out this way. So the control system didn't operate the way it normally would.
It was the most complicated, messy system of springs and levers and latches and unbelievably complex.
we depressurized both the lunar module and the command module, and Rusty was going to get out and transfer over to the command module. And we were doing that to see that it could be done.
I'm partway up the front of the lunar module, making sure that I could safely do that and not poke holes in the suit with antennas and things. And everything was quiet. Nobody was talking. That beautiful
In
Earth
the
out there,
aftermath
I mean,
of Apollo
that's when I
13,
really
nothing
saw
was taken for
just the
granted.
beauty
It took a
where
lot
I
of work
was.
back home to really reprogram that software, to
Dave
really
wanted to
understand what had
get out
happened
of
there.
your spacecraft too, so we part of the mission was for him to open up the hatch. So we were all out there in a vacuum.
Here we are at this historic moment that we are all here, not just the astronauts, everybody who's alive today, and we're all on this small planet as representative of life. We're beginning to move out from this planet, which, as far as we know, contains all of the life in our little corner
And
of
it's
the
been a long way,
universe.
but we're here.
It just worked beautifully. I mean, it was an amazing vehicle.
It was a hell of a ride.
Apollo 14 was an incredibly ambitious scientific mission. One of the things they had with them that was incredibly important was something called the MET, or the rickshaw. Basically a cart intended to carry both those scientific experiments, those payloads, but also to return those lunar samples. And so that allowed that crew to travel further from the lander than any crew had previously.
We're really going up a pretty steep slope here. We got a ways to go yet.
Like any good navigator, the astronauts brought with them the maps that they needed. But there was a problem with these maps. These maps had been shot from the air, and on the ground, that lunar landscape looked quite a bit different.
Nothing like being up to your armpits in lunar dust.
They found themselves in valleys that were deeper than they thought. They found themselves working up hills that were higher. This was an exploration at its finest.
Well, I'm going to try a little sand trap shot here. That looks like a slice to me, Al. Here we go. And one more. Miles and miles and miles.
The samples returned from Apollo 14 were incredibly important. They told us so much about the formation of the solar system, so much about the material that makes up the moon.
Okay, I'll do a loop. Okay, make it smooth. And around we go. Go through style.
The return trip to Earth was a time to rest, a time to reflect, but also a time to continue science. A major portion of that journey home was conducting microgravity science, something that today we do on the International Space Station every day. That was a new way to think about what would the value of space be. Apollo 14 achieved all the science that it had hoped to achieve, and it pressed the boundaries of space exploration in ways that future crews would build upon. And as we prepare to go back to the moon, we've definitely followed in the footsteps of these brave crews that went before us and build upon the scientific information that they returned.